Liam, welcome to Norwich City. First of all, your reflections on the last few days and weeks and how you've ended up with us as our new head coach.
Been a little bit of a whirlwind, is the nature of football, but delighted to be here. I think it was one of those where I had numerous discussions with Ben, with the owners, with people behind the scenes, and it felt like a terrific fit for the next steps in my career. So delighted to be here.
A lot's been made that you're, of course, one of us, Norfolk born, but it's the project that's attracted you. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to Norwich City.
Yeah, obviously a lot's been made around being from the area, which is important to me. Family still live here, wife's family still lives here, lots of friends and family that's still in the area. So of course, and my history, understanding the club and the city itself, and some of the journey the team's been on over the years, I think an important thing. But the number one driver was always the professional side. So do I feel I can have impact with a group? Do the project, does it align with my ambitions in terms of where I want to get to? And it ticks so many boxes that ultimately, like I said, in terms of the next steps for me, it was a perfect fit.
You more than most have experienced Carrow Road, both as a supporter with a season ticket and later as a manager. You bought Bristol City here, of course, last season. What are your impressions of the place? What is this place like?
It starts with the fans. I think they're fundamentally the most important people of the club. Coaches, players come and go, but the one thing that remains consistent is the fans. So I know it can be it's packed out most weeks, and I want to make this a really difficult place for teams to come, create a real positive energy and atmosphere. So from that perspective, looking forward to the first game at home next season, and then I think it's one of those with the team. I think creating something special here with a group of players that the fans can be proud of.
Talk to us about your approach to football, how you see the game, and how that compared to Ben when you had your conversations.
Yeah, I think it's definitely evolved over time. I think I've improved. I've got better as a coach. I think if you look at the game, it does change and move forward. But some of the core principles don't change, and I think that for me is the important bit. I think the bare minimum is the players turn up on a match day and give absolutely everything. Be running, competing, fighting, behaviours that on a good day, bad day don't change. That's the bare minimum. And then on top of that, I think when you look at it, I think we've got some really top attacking players. I'm excited and looking forward to working with those. And I think there's a lot of things that for me can be built on. I think in terms of you get into football, you want to be involved in football for the attacking stuff primarily. So I think it's that how do we become a team that control the game in the attacking half and excite people, whether it be from duels, combinations, shots, whatever it might be. How do we, produce some really exciting attacking football, and it has to be underpinned as well by, being difficult to beat as well.
You talked about it a little bit there. What qualities do you look for from your players? The balance between talent, hard work, that sort of thing. What do you look for?
Hard work's a given, no matter how talented you are. I think that for me, and that's on staff. We have to role model that. We have to live that. That's a non-negotiable for me. And like you said, when it comes to talent, players, every player can work hard. There's no reason not to. So bare minimum, if you want to be successful, you have to give absolutely everything. So that will be non-negotiable. And then on top of that, I think lads are human. I think it's really important that getting to know the players, understanding them, their makeup, their support circles, their psychologically what are they like. I think hugely important. They're human at the end of the day. They'll feel pressure. They'll have nerves like we all do. And then I think it's a case of that. I think it's when you step on the pitch, how do you bring you? We bring players to this football club because of their strengths and what they're good at. My job's to get them in the best place possible on a match day to bring that to the team.
We won't perhaps see the behind the scenes Liam Manning. What is your approach to getting the best out of your players? Are you someone who puts an arm around, or are you a bit sterner than that?
I think you have to do everything. I think that's the key to it. I think you have to create the right culture. I think we have to create a culture where people are in love with the game, are inspired to be a part of the game and understand how privileged they are to be, doing something that's so fantastic. And I think you can strip that back to why people start playing. I think as professionals get older and there's so many factors that come into it. You can sometimes deviate away from why you started playing, which is that pure enjoyment. The excitement of stepping on the pitch and playing. I think you have to harness that and keep that. I think it then for me, I have to role model what we want in people. So I think in terms of I'm quite consistent, I'm quite calm, I'm quite level in most things. Of course, I have gears that I can go to if needs be. I'm emotional like everybody. I care. I want to win, but I think a lot of the work of me, the staff, has to be underpinned by trying to help people and help players improve. I do genuinely believe if you can improve the players and people, the team will be better for it.
Where do you like to spend your time as a head coach? Are you a meeting room guy? Are you on the grass first and foremost? Where do you like to spend most of your time?
Definitely active on the grass. Love being on the grass in terms of coaching, and whether that be leading practices. I'm a really hands-on coach. There's also a real skill I think in observing. And empowering staff to lead aspects of it, and sitting with players. I think you have to give players and staff time. I think you have to work really hard to harness and create that culture where, whether it be from the kitchen staff, the cleaners, the analysts, the media, everybody plays their part to what happens at kick-off on a Saturday. And it's that we all win together, we all lose together. So I think it's giving people time and listening to people and making sure that we all play our role to push us towards being successful.
How much do you use data in your decision making? Is it you like to see, with your own eyes what's going on the pitch, or do you use data to drive that decision making?
Both. I think both are equally important. I think games evolved hugely from with technology and data. So I have a good understanding of it, how it works. I also understand the context of it and how it fits. It doesn't tell you everything. So again, I think what you get with experience, with time, with being in lots of different situations and environments, it allows you to then use your gut and your eyes, as well. So for me, it's definitely both. I think you can plan, you can collect all the information, but you also have to be a little bit reactive with what you see, what's presented in front of you, and make decisions that you feel are best for the team. Because I think that's ultimately, it's not about me, it's not about any individual player, it's about ultimately the team.
This one's a tough question to answer on day one, morning one, but how do you think the squad needs to evolve to deliver the brand of football that you're talking about becoming difficult to beat? You obviously haven't had a chance to work with any of them or probably meet many of them yet.
Yeah, I also think you have to you need time with the players, I think, to understand what they've been asked to do previously as well. I can watch all the games, all the do all the analysis possible, but ultimately the lads will be getting slightly different messages in a different way. So again, I think there's a huge amount of positives in the group already from the work I saw last season. When you look at the attacking numbers, I think is how do you add different dimensions and elements to the team, so that we'll quite often associate being hard to beat with defending, but you can be really hard to beat with the ball. It's just where on the pitch you do that, and that for me is especially in the attacking half. If we're going to keep the ball, let's keep it in their half. The same as then the out of possession stuff. And I think there's such an emphasis now on playing styles and identities. We have to be prepared for everything, and ultimately understand what we want it to look like more often than not. But if you want to win games at the level and you want to be successful, you have to be prepared for everything.
Where do you sit on the age-old discussion about bringing youth players through and the importance of giving them game time versus the result on the pitch?
Yeah, I think it's one of those. I think for me, it's of course, number one is about winning games, but I also understand in terms of then, the time, the patience that sometimes players need or the team needs to learn, grow, and evolve, and I think that's really important. But everything we do will be about trying to win a match. I think it's an understanding when you step back and you maybe become less emotional and more analytical about it. It's understanding how does that fit into the journey that we're going on as a group or as as an individual player. So for me, it's really important that there's some really exciting, talented players in the group with huge potential. And I think when you look at some of the lads that came in last year, extremely young, 40, 50 games further on in their career will only be better for it. So I think it's understanding that we are building, we are progressing, but I want to win as well.
What motivates, and you might have just answered this, what motivates you as a coach? It's a long season. How do you sustain your energy all the way through?
It's probably what I look like. I look after a few years of doing it. I think it's key. I think you become hardened, you become toughened and resilient to it. I think I've been coaching for a long, long time now, and I think the foundations have to be hard work and elements of toughness to it. I think so for me, it's very much the Championship and the Football League so unique in world football for me in terms of the volume of games that you play. So you have to be a little bit creative at times with how you coach. You can't all be on the grass because actually physically you're chasing freshness. So you need to keep them off feet, and it might be a video session, it might be sit down, have a discussion, it might be a walkthrough. So I think you have to be smart with how you coach the group, definitely. But it's one of those, I think, in terms of working with the lads and getting in front of them, I think is finding a variety of ways to be successful.
Now that you're here, what are your initial priorities? How will you spend week one and beyond?
Definitely getting familiar with people and understanding people. Getting to know names is always a first when there's a high volume of people working in football clubs. I think it's really important that understanding people's roles, what they do, getting a feel for the players. I think it's not about coming in and trying to change everything from the off. I think it's observing, listening, and understanding where things are at. It's hugely important. So giving people time to reflect on that. Definitely need to reach out to a few of the players now. Have officially started. I think will be equally important to to start those relationships and start connecting with people. And then obviously we've got the aspect of recruiting and trying to build a team that can compete next season.
In terms of a pre-season program, how do you like to go about pre-season? Is it all blood and thunder, sweating, running hard, getting as fit as possible, or do you like to spend more time tactically looking at that side of things?
Probably both. I think the honest answer. I think training time during the season can be limited. So I think in terms of trying to maximise that, especially coming in and having the opportunity, I think laying down some of the core principles of how we play and how we work and what we do, I think is a really good opportunity. And a combination. I think you can get some really high physical returns as well as football returns in certain sessions. And I also think there's still definitely a place for some of the real tough digging in, running aspects, and for physical reasons, but as much as anything for the psychological aspect, knowing that you can go to those places that hurt, and you can call on that later in the season, knowing that you put in solid foundations in pre-season.
Final one, a message to Norwich City supporters, but some of whom are going to be contacts in your phone book. What's your message to the fan base?
Delighted to be here, hugely proud. It's a privilege to sit in this position. Can't wait to get out around the city and meet a few, but I think it's understanding I am so privileged, so rest assured I'll do absolutely everything in my power to to improve the team, to give the fans something they can be proud of, and try and bring success to the club. And like I said, if they can play their part as well, and we can align and everybody come together and understand that we'll have highs, we'll have lows next season, we'll have good moments, tough moments. If you can stick together, that's where the power is for me. If everybody can turn up and be the best version of themselves every day, every match day, you can create some special memories, which is what the game's about.